The traditional legend of the great struggle of the Buddha. The young prince, Gautama Sakyamuni, set forth secretly from his father's palace on the princely steed Gandhaka, passed miraculously through the guarded gate, rode through the night attended by the torches of 4 times 60,000 divinities, lightly hurdled a majestic river 1,128 cubits wide, and then with a single sword stroke sheared his own royal locks, whereupon the remaining hair, 2 finger breadths in length, curled to the right and lay close to his head. Assuming the garments of a monk, he moved as a beggar through the world, and during these years of apparently aimless wandering, acquired and transcended the 8 stages of meditation. He returned, or rather he retired, to a hermitage, bent his powers 6 more years to the great struggle, carried austerity to the uttermost, and collapsed in seeming death, but presently recovered. Then he returned to the less rigorous life of the ascetic wanderer. One day he sat beneath a tree, contemplating the eastern quarter of the world, and the tree was illuminated with his radiance. A young girl named Sujata came and presented milk rice to him in a golden bowl, and when he tossed the empty bowl into a river, it floated upstream. This was the signal that the moment of triumph was at hand. He arose and proceeded along a road which the gods had decked, and which was 1,128 cubits wide. The snakes and birds and the divinities of the woods and fields did homage with flowers and celestial perfumes. Heavenly choirs poured forth music. The 10,000 worlds were filled with perfumes, garlands, harmonies, and shouts of acclaim. For he was on his way to the great tree of enlightenment, the bow tree under which he was to redeem the universe. He placed himself with a firm resolve beneath the bow tree on the immovable spot, and straightway was approached by Kamamara, the god of love and death. The dangerous god appeared mounted on an elephant and carrying weapons in his 1,000 hands. He was surrounded by his army, which extended 12 leagues before him, 12 to the right, 12 to the left, and in the rear as far as to the confines of the world. It was 9 leagues high. The protecting deities of the universe took flight, but the future Buddha remained unmoved beneath the tree. And the god then assailed him, seeking to break his concentration. Whirlwind, rocks, thunder, and flame, smoking weapons with keen edges, burning coals, hot ashes, boiling mud, blistering sands, and 4-fold darkness the antagonists hurled against the Saviour, but the missiles were all transformed into celestial flowers and ointments by the power of Gautama's 10 perfections. Mara then deployed his daughters, Desire, Pining, and Lust, surrounded by voluptuous attendants, but the mind of the great being was not distracted. The god finally challenged his right to be sitting on the immovable spot, flung his razor-sharp discus angrily, and bid the towering host of the army to let fly at him with mountain crags. But the future Buddha only moved his hand to touch the ground with his fingertips, and thus bid the goddess Earth bear witness to his right to be sitting where he was. She did so with 100, 1,000, 100,000 roars, so that the elephant of the antagonist fell upon its knees in obeisance to the future Buddha. The army was immediately dispersed, and the gods of all the world scattered garlands. Having won that preliminary victory before sunset, the conqueror acquired in the first watch of the night knowledge of his previous existence. In the second watch, the divine eye of omniscient vision. And in the last watch, understanding of the chain of causation. He experienced perfect enlightenment at the break of the day. Then for 7 days, Gautama, now the Buddha, the enlightened, sat motionless in bliss. For 7 days he stood apart and regarded the spot on which he had received enlightenment. For 7 days he placed between the place of the sitting and the place of the standing. He paced between the place of the sitting and the place of the standing. For 7 days he abode in the pavilion furnished by the gods and reviewed the whole doctrine of causality and release. For 7 days he sat beneath the tree where the girl Sujata had brought him milk right in a golden bowl, and there meditated on the doctrine